Welcome to the Model Car Hobby Headquarters Unpodcast with your host, Luka C. Now here he is, Luka C. Well, hello, my fellow car modelers. How are you doing today? Welcome to another Unpodcast. I haven't had a chance to do one of these in a while, and I'm pretty excited. I enjoy these shows where I get to talk to my friends, and I'm bringing this is your third time, Matthew. I'm bringing Matthew from Model Cars Videos on. We got some really cool things to talk about. And welcome back onto the show, sir.
Thank you. But hey, you know what's crazy?
What?
Is when you and I were just talking backstage, I wasn't nervous at all. But for some reason, I feel like people are watching me now.
I know. That changes everything, huh?
Yeah. So, everything's good. Thanks for having me on again.
Oh yeah, I always love having you on. We have good conversations, and we talked a couple of weeks ago, and we had a very interesting conversation. I thought we should bring this into a show, and because you're getting, you're a major part of this hobby now, and over the past couple of years, you've gotten so more involved. Where when you came on the scene, you were kind of like, hello.
I was wearing this shirt as a matter of fact. I was like, that's my name, Matthew.
That's right. That's right. And so, so you've totally engrossed yourself into this hobby and gotten to know a lot of people. You're going to a lot of shows. You're observing things, and you're a heck of a lot more in the know now. Where you and I have just had some very interesting conversations about this hobby that I think are really, really important subjects, and what we're going to talk about today is one of them. But let's just get the ball rolling. Why don't you start it off the way you started the conversation off when we were on the phone?
Yeah. So when you and I were on the phone the other day, I was telling you about a conversation I was having at Acme with my long lost relative cousin, Scott Inman.
I've been hearing a lot about Scott lately.
Yeah. He and I were standing and just chit-chatting, and I mentioned to him, I said, you know what's sad? And he's like, what? And I pointed over to the juniors and young adult table, and it was, for the most part, completely empty, except for maybe 5, I think, young adult builds, no juniors at all. And I said, that's sad. And I said, because Scott, look around, look at the average. I said, we're the young guys. I think he's probably a little younger than me, but we're some of the younger people there.
Yeah.
And I said, I can see the death of the hobby on that table. And he somewhat agreed with me. I said, because the age group is, for the most part, older than me. I'm 47, and they were, for the most part, most are older than me, I would say, vast majority. And they're only going to get older. I'm only going to get older. And with an empty table, that means those following us don't seem to be there. And that's a concerning thing to me. However, I've heard it conveyed by you in other ways that maybe it's not so bleak. So I want to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I've always been vocal about this, where at a time I think you and I were kind of on opposite ends of this, but really weren't. It was because I was like, heck with the kids aren't the future, and you go, no, the kids are the future, and they are and they aren't. When I talk about that stuff, I have found, like, over the past 20 something years, like, where I got well known in the hobby and meeting a lot of people all over the hobby was when I used to have my old resin casting business and had a lot of customers. And then I noticed, it transferred into running a Facebook group and having these YouTube channels and meeting and reading all these comments. the majority of what the future of the hobby is guys in their 30s, mainly 40s. You see them come in, and a lot of them said they might have done it as a kid, but there's also a lot of people who did it, who never did it before. And I just recently, there's been some new people that have joined my Facebook group that this is cool. I just kind of peeked in and wow, I want to do this. I've never built a model. And I think where it comes in, and you really laid it out right there, what you visually saw. It's older folks, and what happens when they go and there's nobody filling in. There's not a lot of, like you said, you're like one of the younger guys. And I think it's not so much the hobby of model building. It's the automotive hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Cars. I think that's where it is where the young people aren't really interested in cars. I bet you Hot Wheels sales have gone down. It's like my grandson, he's inundated with the automotive thing. He loves cars, but the average kid his age, I don't think cares about playing with Hot Wheels. They want to go play video games. Let's not get into everybody. I'm not upset about video games. I think they're awesome and fun, and I get it. But I think it's that. But I was talking last night to a buddy of mine who's an airplane builder, and also discuss it with Andy. The airplane and the tanks and stuff was also kind of seeing the same thing. It's older people, and young kids aren't getting into it, because what young kids today are like interested in World War II weaponry, tanks and you have other types of airplanes. But so that's kind of something that I don't know, the way I observe and just talking to people over the years, think that's kind of how it's going. Is our hobby gonna die off? I don't know. I still have a little hope. I think there's ways to, maybe those kids when they get older, will the automobile totally vanish into existence is the thing. Some people say yes. I don't know. I don't know if it will, not for a long time. I think there's always going to be an interest and because honestly, that's really why I got into model cars, is because I love cars.
Yeah.
So
same here.
And that's kind of my take on that a bit. What do we do to kind of keep our end of the hobby going,
Yeah, and I don't want people to think that we're saying there are no juniors building, because don't twist what we're saying. There's not very many. Acme, for instance, Wayne Weber's wanted to, really push the junior class this year, and actually brought that class back with an actual real award, not a paper award, but one of the nice Acme awards. And there wasn't one junior, not one. And Ruthie went from junior class into young adult, so she was no longer a junior at the young adult class that she was in, but zero juniors there. And so they had that plaque made, or that award made. There wasn't even anyone to take it, not one. And it to me, it's a little disturbing, because when your time runs out, if there's no one behind you to pick it up, then there's no use for them to continue to making it. So I was thinking about this earlier. The hobby itself, you can't kill a hobby. A hobby is what we do for fun.
Yeah.
But what people produce for us to have fun with, I think that could eventually start to decline. Right now, it's soaring. I was listening to the podcast with you guys, and y'all always go over the new kits coming out, and how Round 2 is just continually putting out kits, and right now it is absolutely soaring. 10 years from now, I don't know.
Totally.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's the thing.
Yeah, when this crew of regulars right now get too old, or hate to say it, we die off. Yeah, who's going to start doing it? What's to get? And again, I think it is the loss of interest in the automobile too.
You
Yeah,
brought that. That's a great point that you brought up, and I'll mention my son Joseph. He can work on his own vehicle, fortunately, and do things like that. But
mhm.
he didn't grow up. Although I always had a shop, and I've always had something going on with automotive. It wasn't as much ingrained in him as when I was a youth. My dad, boy, we had dune buggies and we had
Yeah.
motorcycles and everything that you can imagine. And so that my life, and okay, so real quick,
Mm.
video games weren't a part of my life, nor were cell phones and things like that. So modern
No.
technologies that can sometimes uh, defer our imagination.
Yeah.
So I didn't have those things. So I was able to. My imagination was building, taking a lawnmower and putting a motorcycle front end on it, and I had me a chopper, stuff like that. And so fun things.
Wow.
And so chopping stuff up and putting it together, that was what I did. I didn't have the video games and things like that. Obviously, Nintendo came out in the 90s or early 90s, and I did have one, but it wasn't the same effect as the video games today. So they didn't grab your attention quite as much. And so I had that instilled in me. That's all we did. We were in the shop continually. Now, my son, because of modern technologies and things like that, he's not been as involved. And that's not a bad thing, just like you were saying. It's not bad that they're doing those things, but sometimes it diverts their attention to other things where now the automobile or being under the hood of one isn't the main focus and fun. And to me,
Yeah.
that was fun. And so we look back now and we find these little model kits, and we relive those moments. They don't have those moments.
Yeah, that's an excellent point too. It's an excellent point. Yeah, that and and they're not going to car shows like some of the car hangouts I go to. You see little kids because they're with their parents, and and those kids that are growing up around a car dad or
Mm-hmm.
mom, and they kind of get into it like Felix is. I mean, he loves. Oh boy, when I say you want to go ride in the Mustang today, oh yeah, I already said that. So after this, I got to take him out for a run. But a lot of people aren't. That's really a small group that are into cars like that. Um, but because there is all these other distractions as those kids get older, I see a lot of car guys. They got hot rods in the garage or they build model cars, and their son and daughter, when they get a little older, even become early late teens or into their 20s, young adults, they're not really interested in it. It's a
Yeah.
different world. They have different interests, like you said. This opens up a whole another world of other interests for them, and just the culture of our at least in this country, it was such a heavy car culture, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not so much anymore. Cars are appliances. Cars, for a while they were getting fun, but they're getting rid of all the fun cars that were bringing it back, like the Camaro and Mustang, and the Mustang's not leaving. I don't know if they'll ever kill it, but they're kind of, it's getting less interesting, I think. I don't know. We'll see how that rolls, but
Yeah.
I think, and Dodge is 86 and all the fun cars and stuff, and everything's going back to what was like happening about 15 years ago, 20 years ago, where we just had these appliances just to get from point A to point
Yeah.
B. So, that's what they look at. The car is no different than a wash machine. So, and this is our end of the hobby. And of course it's the end of the hobby that we're concerned about. We love going to model car shows, and we love going to car shows with our cars, and those are going to start fading away. And I was having a discussion, and I've had this discussion a few times with Tim Brown from Throttle Power, and he does a lot of the big car events. That's
Mm-hmm.
the bread and butter of his channel, as we know. And he would be saying, I go to the show, and what do? I look around every year. He sees like the Tri-5 Nationals. Every year he goes, he sees it's a little smaller. He says all the people that own those cars, they're all getting very elderly. They actually would rather ride around and drive and travel in their modern car that's comfortable.
Yeah.
The 57 Chevy isn't that fun to drive anymore,
Yeah.
and especially on a long trip. So there's some of them that were showing up that left their cars at home. And then they're eventually, and they, it's a big area to walk around. They can't walk around. They just sit in their lawn chairs. And then eventually they just, this is the last year I'm coming, I'm kind of done. But there's nobody behind them to take it over, and they saw this. This was starting to happen a few years ago, with pre-war cars. There was all these people that, the pre-war car guys were dying off, and their family, their children were inheriting these cars, and they couldn't sell them. They weren't worth anything when these cars at one time were $1 million cars. And Haggerty did a report on that, how the value of those dropped. And that's starting to happen to 50s cars. And we're going to start seeing that with muscle cars. It's crazy. You and I can't comprehend that, but there are some young car guys, and it's just like, no, man, I picked up this 2012 Challenger, RT, and I'm dialing it. But what about the 69 Camaro or the 70 Challenger? Those are old cars, man. I got my 2013. I'm hot rodding that. They don't have the love for those old cars like we do, and that's the majority of these kids too. And it's great that like the companies are coming out with more modern cars, which is important. I think they need to do that, but there's not as much to choose from.
Yeah. What's really peculiar about that statement about people wanting the cars of their era or something like that?
Yeah.
I don't. My personal choice of era cars is brass era, early 1900s.
Oh, yeah. You're one of those ones that you're one of those. Yeah, you could probably pick up a really good deal on one of those for real.
Yeah, but I didn't live in those, but those are that's my choice, so yeah, but that is definitely the thing is they want something that they can relate to.
Yeah.
You relate to working on cars of the late 60s, maybe the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I relate working on old Volkswagens and things like that. So you want to always go back, and it brings back that memory, that warm fuzzy that we want.
Yeah.
And we kind of get that from there. Just like that USAC build, the bootlegger. That was when I was a kid, I built it. It brings back a memory. One thing about newer modern cars, and going back to kids these days or young adults, is they've removed the ability for people to hot rod on cars anymore, because you can't even work on them unless you've got some degree in rocket science to be able to, when you take the plastic cover off the top of the engine, where do you start? And so it's somewhat, I think, eliminated the curiosity of how this thing works.
Yeah, it has. But then, you know what? I watch, the majority of my YouTube watching is actually real automotive stuff. And I've been watching some real crazy drag racing go on. There's this one channel. I love this channel. It's really huge on YouTube. It's called 1320.
Yeah, watch it.
This really, and I was watching one the other night. These were all like 30-year-olds and some late 20-year-olds, and they had this 64 Galaxy. But everything about it. Did you see that red one?
I saw it with the Coyote, the 2000 horse. Yeah, I saw it.
Nuts. And what are they doing? They're dialing that thing in. They don't. Sometimes the hood's not even up. What do they do? The guy's got on the roof a laptop.
Yeah.
And I was watching it with my friend, and I'm going, when I was on a drag race team back in the late 80s and early 90s, and I'm hearkening back to that, doing exactly. But what I had to do is I was like under the hood, pulling spark plugs, reading the spark plugs, changing the jets on the nitrous, and changing the jets in the carburetors or whatever we had going on. And that was quite a mechanical experience. And these guy's nice and clean, and he's on the laptop and completely doing everything I used to have to do physically. Yeah. And it's so yeah, and you do start seeing, you still seeing guys buying the new hot rods that are around today, and they are hot rodding them, but it's just a different thing.
It's a different way.
It's not like what we did. You know, they're not. But then again, man, I mean, I go and I get even my little old V6 daily driver '08 Mustang scares the hell out of me. I don't want even attempt to work on it.
Yeah.
And it is actually probably of modern vehicles. I noticed when I did mess with some things, they knew people were going to mess with those Mustangs, so they were designed to be played with.
Yeah.
But majority of cars, it's still it. I don't know what's going on under there. You know, plug it into the computer.
One other thing about the death of the hobby, and this
Yeah.
is another thing you and I talked about on the phone recently, is I feel like I'm all alone out here because I don't know a local modeler. I don't know one. And
Yeah.
I take that back. My coworker, he likes them. He just doesn't build them. He remembers building them as a kid, so we can have those conversations. But that's a little different. But what my thought is you go when I go into Hobby Lobby, and they're always they would not keep model kits if they didn't sell model kits. I guess I don't think they would. Maybe they have to have them on the shelf and they never move. But it looks to me like they sell that kind of stuff. And so when I think I'm all alone, I'm the only guy in Southeast Georgia that's doing it's not true. So there's a lot more people. I don't know what their age is, but there's a lot more people doing this, or at least buying the things. I don't know if they're building them or not, but they're buying them because just from that evidence, Hobby Lobby, I don't think they would continue to stock something that did not sell. So apparently they sell. So there's people around. Again, I don't know their ages. I don't know if they're older men, younger men, girls, boys, whatever they are, but they do sell. So the whole assumption that I made was only because I saw that table and it was empty, and it was a gigantic show. The show's huge. There was like almost 1,000 models there.
Yeah, that pulls people from all over the East, and starting to pull people from the West. I know there's a group of us that are going next year. That's becoming the show, and to have no juniors on the table.
Yeah,
I have seen this trend happening longer than you might believe. I mean, I was doing this show almost 20 years ago, and I had chose because of that eliminating the kids class altogether.
Yeah,
it wasn't worth the time. The kids truly weren't. The few models that were on the table, what I noticed was, that's the dad. Might help the kid, or come on, that kid didn't build it. The kid, see the kid, and he could care less. He doesn't care. He won a trophy, no big deal. What I did is I didn't eliminate it because I have always been talking about this, and you and I goof about this. It gets misconstrued a lot that I'm like anti-kid in the hobby. No, I'm not. I'm still very much for. You're a model builder, you have a child in your life, definitely, try, that can spring into other things too. Definitely get them involved, have fun. It's a fun thing. I'm getting ready to do something really cool with Felixs here. He's got a Camaro he's had for a while. He's ready to dig into it. But I felt that let's create things at the show that the kids will be more involved with and have fun.
Yeah.
And so what I made, there was, Revell had this great program. This is a horrible thing that nobody does this. I think round 2 should pick this up. You could, for completely no money, if you were putting on a model show, you could contact Revell for their make and take program. And they gave you a bunch of snap kits that were in a bag, so they could put more in a small package too. And that saved them money. So they were all in a bag, but they'd give you, for whatever model, sometimes it was a couple of models, they'd give you one box to display. They gave you a poster to display, all the neatest stuff to set up. You get a couple of volunteers that work with the kids. You also encourage the parents, you sit down with the kid and build with them.
Yeah.
So there was the make and take, and I had so many that honestly up in my attic, I still have some of those make and takes. I'm holding on to in case there's ever a need for them to do something with kids.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful program. And then we got there was for a little bit, Mattel put out a classic Hot Wheels track in the old orange ones, the gravity drag race. So we set up a drag race, and we bought a ton of Hot Wheels. And back when they were like 98 cents, they've gone up a bit in price. But yeah, I had dropped $100 on just Hot Wheels, laid all the Hot Wheels out. I really advertised. A lot of kids showed up, and it was like we had an area outside. It was a beautiful day that day. We let the kids pick their Hot Wheel out, open that thing up, and they did eliminations. And we had first, second, and third trophies, and we did eliminations. And the kids got a little trophy, and they had a ball, and they were so happy. And they got to take a Hot Wheel home, and then whatever Hot Wheels were left over, we handed them out. And they got their make and take one or two. We had enough for them if they wanted to build a second one. We had a 57 Chevy and a Corvette.
Yeah.
And some of the kids built one of each. And I had parents come up to me and go, "This is the greatest thing. My kids never had this much fun at a model show."
Yeah.
So, get their interest, get them involved, get the family involved. It makes your show more of a family event. And, you kind of, it also, it takes manpower, and it takes some people that are willing to give up and spend their time, kind of babysitting in a way. Sometimes you can get some older kids there and involved. And we had that too. We had a couple of teenagers that were happy to hang out with the kid, their younger brothers and sisters there and stuff. So it was a really cool thing. I've always mentioned this, hoping that other model shows would do that. It was even, like I said, this was 20 years ago, and I was seeing what we see today. It's a little worse now. But there's something that I think, and this is something Acme could think about, like they're strictly a model car show. And so model car shows got to think about this. You want to have a kids or a junior class. You might have to open it up and not just be automobiles.
Yeah.
Talking to other hobby shop owners, and Andy has, this is the data, is what he notices the most. And they don't have kids come into their stores. But when they do have kids come into stores, you know what section they go to? The fastest growing section in every hobby shop. It's the Gundam section.
I can't wrap my mind around that, but yeah.
I know the Gundam. I go and I hang out at Andy's. I'll spend a day over there, and I see so many young people, young adults coming in and buying up Gundam. He just ordered for Christmas time. There's these Gundam, and I was watching Mark Batson's video when he went down to Michael Guest's store over there. He had them too. There's these giant Gundam. They're $300 kits, and they flew off the shelf by younger people.
Wow.
And so the Gundam thing, and Andy says, he can't keep it in stock. It's getting as big as his armor section.
Really?
Yeah. So this has been kind of happening over the past 10 years. So why not open up? I bet you could have some young modelers. It's more about let's get get the kids into the hobby of model building, miniatures, not just cars. That can branch into cars because they could be, focused and interested because they got their Gundam they built, and there's other kids they meet that have the Gundams, and then they start looking at the model cars. That,
that's a great idea. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I wonder if that is a direction to go.
Always junior class up to just open the junior class up to anything scale model, and then because they're only going to see cars all around them. So maybe maybe they could spark their interest. If you have an interest to build something, a scale model, period. I don't know, the possibilities could be that they.
It definitely is. I mean, like for me, I built maybe one or two model cars when I was a kid. I wasn't into building models, but I did have this love for miniatures. I got into science fiction. Star Wars came out. I got Star Wars models and other science fiction models, and I built more spaceships. When I did take the time to do any model building, but it wasn't a major part of my childhood.
Yeah.
But the thing that I remember, probably the thing that went into my head and stayed there, that eventually that seed bloomed into my model car building, but when I got into it when I was about 18, just out of high school, was a trip when I was in 4th grade to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. A big Civil War buff, and my parents took me there, and there was all these museums that had miniatures of the battlefields.
Yeah.
And blew my mind, and the detail. And I, as a little kid, I was so blown away of how real these dioramas were. And they were just fascinating. There was all kinds. I remember going to one museum, and there was I related it to, G.I. Joes in my day when I was a kid. They were the big ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was about a 12-inch beautiful figurine with the uniforms, the different uniforms. And I'll never forget those. I was so fascinated. And I knew as a 4-year-old that wasn't a G.I. Joe or a toy. That was a model. That was a scale model of a soldier. So that the miniature thing was always in my head. I love miniatures. I am a car nut, and this happened. And I have a few little things here and there. I even have a couple airplanes. Don't tell anybody. And I'm actually thinking about, I need to, try some other things out. I got to get some model cars done, man.
Yeah.
But, and so I think that a young child and stuff gets into the Gundam, and Bandai is a wonderful company. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing. Felixs has been building his own models by himself. Every time I go to Andy's, he loses his mind. Bandai has these Pokemon models, Pokemon characters. So I buy those for him, and he puts them together by himself, puts stickers in the right place. And so I asked him, he got this model car he wanted when we were at Hobby Lobby once, because it was a Hot Wheels Camaro, and he just wanted it. And it was like a year and a half ago, and still sitting in his room. And I was just talking to him today. You ready to bust that out and start building? And he wants to. He wants to. So him and I are going to sit down and build it. But who knows what that'll turn into. I did that with my daughter. She loved building models. She built a lot of model cars. Actually, one's right there. And Felix always goes, "That's Mama's car." So, and she's not a model builder today, but she actually one day, like when she saw the Supernatural car, she loved that show. She goes, "I want a Supernatural model. I want to build it." So I got to hunt down another one, because she can't have my two. Yeah. Those are slated for something. But I think the love of building models could branch out into other things and maybe save the car stuff. Who knows? I keep having a hope that, it was looking like cars were getting, younger people were getting into cars when, in the mid '00s, when all the retro cars were coming out, and it was like another car culture was exploding.
That's one other quick note is when I say, the question isn't dying, I'm specifically talking about, the car. I've not been to I've been to an IPMS show, but I've not went over to see if they had like junior class and to see how many junior entrants were with the armor and planes and things like that. So I'm only speaking specifically for the car. And I've been to other shows, and it's generally the junior classes isn't very big. Now I have seen some smaller shows have more turnout in the junior class than Acme had zero.
Mm-hmm.
And so it varies. It's not that there's just none. And I know some of those juniors, and I've done a few little interviews with one particularly his name is Henry, and he does a great job. But his dad's a builder too.
Yeah.
So it helps a lot. With Ruthie, I think Ruthie built because Dad wanted her to more than she wanted to, but it still was fun. I think she had a great experience with it.
She's artistic, isn't she? She got into the artsy thing about it.
So she, like the little details and paint matching and stuff. And that's a guy. Guys don't care. It's just like, let's paint it blue. or something like that. Like, yeah, so I had a lot of fun with that. But I think it was more Dad wanting to have the fun, and Ruthie was a product of I wanted to have fun, and here you build it. So we can't expect them to do something they don't want to do. I wouldn't want. No, you're going to build a car. I wouldn't want any parent.
You got it.
It's got to be an interest. That's what makes a hobby
Yeah.
a hobby. It's supposed to be fun and something you want to do. And when it's not fun to you and you don't want to do it, it's surely you're not going to be in it long, if anything else. So it's a tough thing. Maybe we'll see an upswing. Maybe we'll see next year at Acme, and possibly through promotion and things like that. Maybe the junior class will return. And
yeah, maybe it just takes some thinking out of the box stuff, because I know when I did what I talked about with that one show, I got a lot of pushback from the local club, and I had a lot of guys. It actually caused some heavy friction. I won't get into that of what ended up happening. It was a little part of it, but even though they could see what the results were, they couldn't get out of their head that no matter what, they saw that I was this ogre that took away the kids' class. Didn't look at what I ended up doing for the kids and all the parents that came up. This is better. I love my kids. I've got photographs of this. This one of my favorite photographs. This kid, he won a trophy and had his car, and he's just so happy. His dad came up to me. I was taking pictures for Scale Auto at my show, and it got published in the contest. And I can't remember if this picture got published, but the dad he came over and says, "Hey, would you take a picture of my son so I could, because he didn't have a camera or nothing." And I sent the picture. I don't know if I can't remember. It didn't get into Scale Auto, but I sent it in an event that maybe they would put it in Scale Auto, because it said it all right there.
Yeah.
And I, today that kid's an adult. I don't know how it affected his life. I know the guy he was a Scottsdale police officer, and I have a friend that's a friend of his. I'm going to ask about that. I'm going to have to look into it. I never looked back, because, that kid would be well into his 20s now, or possibly close to 30. Ooh. But wow, that's always a crazy one.
Yeah.
But I think, I think got to break out of our shells and look at, what would give us the result we want, and maybe like saying, why don't you open it up to Gundam or whatever the kid wants to build, and have that as a junior class. It's a model. As long as it's a model, that might get more interest.
That may, and that could be, maybe that could be talked about with Acme. Not that I could dictate at all anything that they do, and not that I would want to, but just
it's just something, or any show
recommendations. Yeah, because that is truly a concern. That was brought up at the awards ceremony portion of the show, and it was just brought up that look, that table is empty. We're starving for juniors, and whatever it takes. I would if my youngest daughter Ellie, which she would never be caught on camera, but if she said, "Hey, Daddy, I want to build a Gundam," I'd be like, "I don't know why you would, but okay." I wouldn't tell her that part, but anyway, because I don't get that. That's not anything that interests me at all. I don't even understand. I don't even know what a Gundam is. Apparently I missed that cartoon. But if that's what it takes, then yeah, absolutely. Because the same techniques still go into building that Gundam as they do anything else. Exactly.
And like, and Bandai is a great company to look at. They're the ones who do the Gundams, but their models, even you talk to well-seasoned modelers who do extensive work, and it's just like, sometimes it's fun to build a Gundam, not a Gundam, but a Bandai kit, like their Star Wars kits. I got a few of them I want to build. They're really enjoyable. They're snap kits. They're all snap kits.
Are they?
But there's so much intense detail, and if you want to get into even enhancing it, painting it, and all that, you can. If you don't, you have a really nice model, very satisfying, and it's a lot of people use them for slump busters.
Yeah, but I've got some Bandai, but they're not Gundams.
Oh yes, they do all kinds of stuff, and like I said, that these Bandai kits that were Pokemon, little Pokemon figures. Oh, that was Chuck. Can't talk to you, Chuck. I'm talking to Matthew. Um, these Pokemon things that I gave Felix. I mean, here he was. The first one I built with him together, and then this next one I bought him. I go build it, and he brought it back, and it was perfect. And then he takes them apart and then he plays with them, and they get destroyed. He's not into that where, I want to put it on the shelf and
right.
It's the firecracker in the 57 Chevy after we build it, right? But
I never did that. I never did that.
I never did either. I never did.
The only sacrificial cars that I ever built were some that I melted down to look like a monster truck had driven over them. And I don't remember what those cars were, but I think I did.
Nor do you want to think about it, right?
Yeah, I know. So yeah. I hope that the junior interest would come back. Would I say what percentage of? I'd say maybe I have a 25% possibility that it would, in my view. I mean, but that is still more than zero. I don't know. It's something that only time could tell if this is something that will continue to go on. But you and I spoke again, our conversation on the phone. If Round 2, Revell, and every other model company ceased to exist today, I would still die before I completed every model that I had. There's no possible way. There is no way. So it could be that there is a benefit in hoarding models, because you could be that store one day.
Yeah, no kidding.
You're watching the Luka C channel on YouTube.
It's a fun thing to do, to roll these thoughts around. Is it here to stay? Is it going to fade away? I don't know. But right now, I'm having a lot of fun doing it, and that's. We live in the moment. We live in the now, and right now, the hobby is absolutely thriving.
It is probably in my 37 years of being in the model car hobby pretty heavy. This is the best I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
And a lot has to do with like what we do on YouTube, the Facebook groups. It's a smaller community. But an interesting point to that, kind of a same subject, different subject, you had brought up how you go to the store, people are buying them, yet you feel like you're the only model car builder in, within a 100-mile radius. And I remember my first couple of years when I got into model building, I was thinking, I'm 18 years old. I'm playing in rock bands at that time too. So like, I'm cool.
I've seen the picture. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think, I didn't talk about my model car building to anybody, because I kind of like, this is a kid's thing, but I'm having a good time with it. So I enjoy it. And, because I loved cars, and I was starting to work in the automotive business. I was working at a place learning how to be a body and paint guy. And I got my first hot rod magazine, and a friend of mine, the truck that I'm building of our USAC build, which thank you so much for that. I've switched over, and I'm having a ball with that pickup. It brought real good life into this project for me. I watched a guy that sparked my whole automotive interest build a 56 Ford F100 in this garage. It was 1985. And I just remember that truck and everything he did to it so well that I can pretty much build almost, a model, really giving a good tribute to it, which I've wanted to do since back then. Yeah. And, but I was hiding all that. I didn't tell people about it because I thought this is a little kid's thing, but I'm enjoying it. So it was like 2 years into me being into it in my room. I'd have friends come over, and some of my, bandmates or guys from other bands too. We're all cool dudes, right? They come in and they see my shelf with all my built models, and I find out how much they thought that was going. They were car guys. And as a matter of fact, one guy, I had this Hemi Cuda, I'll never forget it. This guy, you'd think he was, he was this lead singer in one of the bands. and I showed it to him. And I was using thread for spark plug wire. I thought I was really advanced.
Yeah.
And I had my Hemi Cuda there. And I took the spark plugs, went past the valve cover down by the headers. He says, "No, dude, that's a Hemi. Those spark plug wires should be going into those holes right there. And it goes through the valve cover." That's how I learned. I learned from another, long-haired weirdo rock lead singer. And if you ever were involved in music, everybody who's ever been bands, they know when you talk about the lead singers, they're on. And that's how I learned that the Hemi head, it goes through the valve cover at the top of the head. So
I thought you always knew that.
No, that wasn't automatic, huh? I didn't know nothing. But yeah, so I went a couple years of not really thinking there was other people. I was way in the closet building model cars, and I was the discovery of Scale Auto magazine. I was at the hobby shop. I was going, there's got to be more. I want to learn more. And I went to the guy at the hobby shop. Go, is there a book on how to build model cars and detail them? He goes, not a book, but there's that magazine. And they had 2 or 3 months worth of issues up. And I bought my first Scale Auto, and that changed everything. The hobby got extremely serious and never stopped for me after that. And I discovered that. And then I discovered, wait a second, there's other guys in town. And I found my model club that I joined, and oh wow. So now where this endless story goes to kind of today, I'll hang out at Andy's, right? And I almost every day that I spend a long good time hanging out with him, I sit behind a counter. I'm always wearing Andy's Hobby Headquarters shirts, and I shop there for my clothes. So they automatically think that I work there, and I'll help out. I like going and helping customers, especially when it's cars, because people come up with car questions to Andy. He's deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
And he looks over at me. I'll help him out. But I meet someone new all the time that builds model cars, and I've even ran into them at Hobby Lobby. And they're not interested in going any farther with it as far as meeting other people, or they're that, you get the drift. Sometimes they'll talk, sometimes they're not one bit interested in the fact that, hey, I build model cars too, want to hang type stuff. But sometimes it does spin out. I've also been gaining some members into our club because of that. But I am constantly bumping into people I've never bumped into before that build model cars. So they're out there. And Andy says he's got tons of guys that come, guys that he's never seen before. They're regular customers, but I'd never met them. And I freaking know everybody in the hobby.
Yeah.
No, not really. So you might be surprised. You might have to go camp out at the model car section at Hobby Lobby and wait for that one poor soul that
I've stood there like a creeper. I've stood there like a creeper for way too long before waiting on somebody. They never showed up.
Did you ever talk to them about putting up a?
They won't let you do it. Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
no, we can't do that.
That's another thing. I've started a couple of model clubs all through Andy's, man. Is by either this club pretty much fired up. The Model Car Mafia was from that collection he got from 2 years ago, and I was working in the store helping him with it, and everybody came there because of this media that we have. I talked about it, and he talked about it, and they came, and I'm like, dudes, you want to do a model car? I gave everybody a Facebook group to all get on there, join, and let's start a model car club. So sometimes. But the other time is there was a time I put up a flyer in Andy's, when he first opened, he let me put up a flyer. So it's too bad that, Hobby Lobby should have something like that. Maybe not.
Nice.
It would be really nice. A little, what do they call those?
A bulletin board or something. Right.
Yeah, bulletin board.
Where you could pin your clubs or.
Yeah, because believe it or not, there's a lot of model car guys, and I meet these guys, and they have no idea that I'm Luka C. You don't know I'm Luka C. So there are a lot of model car. I bet you there's model car guys in your area that don't even know how famous you are.
Oh yeah, I bet they don't.
Yeah, they
That's
don't get on. They
yeah.
don't do YouTube, or they don't even. Hey,
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was a model car community building up on YouTube before I started, because I didn't think of looking up model car stuff on YouTube. I was watching automotive stuff mostly, and stupid stuff that made me laugh. That's what YouTube is for, and rock videos. So I didn't know about it till I got in. So yeah, there's people that actually don't think they might watch YouTube, but don't even think about looking up model cars.
No, I didn't. You and HBI guy were the first two that I came across, and you know, it splinters from there, and then there's
Yeah.
got to be 9,000 of them now.
Yeah, man,
if not
a
more.
lot of, I remember when I did a little research when I was going to start mine up, and the only people I found at that time was Chevy Cheeseburger and Dr. Cranky, really, and I kind of liked what they were, and there was a ton of build video. I just wasn't the YouTubers. They're gigantic. It's still, you know, I can't be a build video. Video channel. It's just like I'd rather discuss things about the hobby and show things about the hobby, and I think that's pretty valuable to our hobby, is spreading education about it to others. Or, you know, it's just, I don't know, me and you're the same way. We've discussed this. Is we love this hobby so much. I love the history of it. I love learning about things, and it's like just recently I discovered a couple of kits that, you know, out of, you know, through the Facebooks I never knew existed, and I thought I knew every model car kit that was ever put out. And it's so fun to discover one that I never knew about. I'm still finding them.
Yeah.
So that to me is fun, and and you don't get it as much. I know you probably used to get it too, as you got those guys that go, "Will you shut up and just build a model?"
Yeah, I have gotten comments.
No, yeah, I got it real bad when I started.
Some of them will just be "build it" with a big exclamation point if I'm showing a model kit. Well, I get a lot more. I get pleasure out of collecting them too. So I mean, I'm doing the channel, and we do our channels because it's what we enjoy to do.
Exactly.
I like to do things that the viewers would like to see, but you know, it still is. It's ours. I mean, so we can. So
yeah, exactly. It's like every model that I show, I can't. It's impossible. I have intentions of it. It's like I did that Lancia that I just got gifted to me. I'm so excited. There was a bunch of, build it. Well, I might build that. It might not have. I got a lot. Like every one of these kits, I still remember if I bought it in 1989, I know why I bought it, and I have an idea in my head. So I've got, this thing is filled with thousands of ideas of models I want to build that won't leave me. And I'm serious about building every single one. I know I can't, but every once in a while I finally go, like the USAC build. I'm honestly building a model that this idea, which was spawned by watching my friend's dad build his truck. I'm building because it's the wrong year, but they're close enough, 50, 55, 56. But you sending me the pickup truck really goes, okay, I'm doing this idea that I came up with in 1985. So they're always there.
That's
and
cool.
It just matters what sparks it. I'm finally going to build this model.
Yeah, I heard you talking about that on the podcast. I was listening to it yesterday, and you went into more detail.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah. I keep forgetting to email you guys, but anyway, I did look at the description and see what the email was, but I forgot the email after that. Squirrel.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. I like the podcast. It's very entertaining.
Thank you. Yeah, we are having such a good time, and we're growing very fast. I'm very surprised that the listening, the download count really took off quick. And we have 6 episodes now, and they're still, I mean, all of the episodes are all consistently growing, and they're getting listened to constantly. So that's really cool. I think it was the right timing. We needed to have a podcast for our our little neck of the woods here in scale modeling. And actually, BG, we had our model meeting last night, and BG took Chuck and I off to the side to deliver some news. A good friend of ours that we talk about, John Sweber, who moved.
Yeah, I know.
He's in a pretty prominent IPMS group that's up there that does a lot of big shows up that way. And they put in their newsletter, someone says, and there's this podcast. And you guys, we got a model car podcast. These guys are knowledgeable. They're funny. It's enjoyable. And by the way, one of our new members happens to be good friends with these guys. So like John got a little, whoa, really? So it was really neat to hear. And it was an IPMS chapter that had us in their newsletter. That was like, wow, we're striking a nerve. That's awesome.
Well,
we're gonna have to have you on. You got to get you on that one.
It looks like fun. Yeah,
it's an absolute ball. I mean, that Jason guy up there, he talks funny and whatever. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, we're probably gonna. I told everybody your 2 complaints about the show.
My 2? Oh.
I said Matthew says he loves the podcast, but he has 2 complaints. 1, you don't do enough of them, and 2, they're not long enough.
Yeah, they need to be about 4 hours long. That way you listen to it most of the day. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, is like they go so organically. It depends on what we're talking about. Like we had one that went almost 4 hours, and we had the last one was only an hour and a half, but we covered everything.
Yeah, and then if you try to start to just fill the void, it's not organic anymore. So
exactly.
Yeah,
we just gotta let it do what it does, and we and that's pretty much our thinking on it. We have an outline of how we do it, and we've definitely. In 6 episodes, we've really polished it up. We all kind of listened to the last episode, and we have a group text where we do. Wow, that was really good, guys. We're really getting it. It's not clunky anymore.
Yeah.
So, and we're all, it's nice. We're all seasoned, YouTubers. That helps out a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
We like this hobby. We talk about it. That's what we do. We talk about this freaking hobby, right? That we want to see people get involved in. Whether it's youngsters or youngsters in the ages of 30s and 40s. I can say that because I'm in my late 50s. Ha ha. You're just a youngster. But I don't know. I think you're right in your observations. And I don't think all hope is gone, but it does look a little scary for us, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's a little misleading to the question, is the hobby dying? When we're born, we begin, I've heard people say this, when you're born, you begin to die. So has the hobby died is a different question than is the hobby dying? Obviously, everything's going to eventually die, even this hobby. How quickly, I guess, would be the question. How quickly would it die? And I think it's got
I think it's got a couple more decades.
Many years, yeah.
I think it's got a couple more decades. And it's great. But here's the other thing that we also see is let's take Acme for an example. The show's been going for a long time. You've had these same group of guys who are doing it, and oh my goodness, I know what it takes to put on a show, and I don't have it anymore. I've talked about it. I know a couple of guys around. We need to do another show. We need more shows in this town because there's so many model car guys. I just don't have it in me. So I really have a lot of respect for those guys at Acme that they've been chugging along. How many years now? 25, 28 years has it been going on?
It's in the 20s. I don't remember the exact, but yeah.
And I said it when they got this new place, that this is a new chapter. This is a new beginning for them. And it showed, and look at what's happened. They know it. And this, I really do think, and the buzz, I mean, like I said, there's people on this side of the country talking about the Acme show. And I really think that is going to be if you're going to pick one show a year to go to from wherever you're at on this planet, and you're going to fly in, that's probably the one you'll pick. It's getting that way. And I think they have that potential now with how they're doing it. They're well seasoned, they're well organized. I have a couple of opinions out, right? You know, if anybody wants to know what I think there's a couple of changes they should do that would even better it more. If they don't, I don't think it's going to hurt it. But I think that show has got quite a few years, but how much longer can those guys do it? Because they're having the trouble of getting younger guys. And I had a conversation with Bob Downey about that when I was out there in 21. And he was talking about that. And he pointed to these two guys that were probably in their 20s, and it's the only ones that are in the club. And he was like, these guys, they're the future right there. We need more, though.
Yeah.
Oh, man, how do we do that? So it's not only the kid, just the junior class. That's what I worry about, is these wonderful shows evaporating because these guys just can't do it, and there's nobody else to take over.
Yeah,
that worries me, because I want to start going out to Acme. I want to go every year. I just that was one of the funnest shows I've ever been to, and I love what it's turning into, and your videos that you covered on it. Especially, my favorite video, honestly, was that the meetup the night before.
Yeah,
that looked. I was like, oh, I wanted to be there.
Yeah, it's a fun time, and I don't want to miss it.
No, I think it'll be around for a while longer, but who knows? Who knows what happens?
Yeah, we may all have to just be closet model builders when all this thing goes down, but maybe not.
Yeah,
we'll keep plugging away.
Old men.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Matthew, I really appreciate you coming on here again. This is always fun having a conversation. This is really good conversation. I knew we would have one. And I'll definitely probably have you on plenty more times. We're going to get you on that podcast too.
Okay.
But I guess you make a couple videos too on your channel. What's that channel called?
It's model car videos.
Oh yeah. God, that must have been. How long did it take you to come up with that name?
Like 5 minutes. Yeah, but I did put the thought process. At least I did think it really took me like 5 minutes, but I thought, what would someone search for? What's a good name?
No, I don't. That's we all say. Oh man, why didn't I think of everybody? Kind of goes. I think everybody thought about it. You had the guts and the smarts to take it. It was a smart move.
It's kind of corny, but yeah, it's worked so far.
That's how I found you. I put in, I was one day, I go, I need to check. Are there other YouTubers doing this now? Because I just wasn't paying attention. Like I said, I was watching automotive and cat videos, but no. I did. I put in model car videos, and you were the first to pop up.
Yeah, it worked. Yeah.
Holy cow! And then I just laughed when I saw you. I watched you. I went straight to your first one.
Yeah.
And I just laughed.
I was sitting right here, just like this.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to say, and I said, "I'm Matthew, right there."
Yeah, I know. But I'm like I said this story before. It was just funny because at the time you had a Circle K shirt on. Your name's Matthew. My name's Matthew. I go by Matt. But okay, so my name's Matt, and I was a Circle K manager at the time. And I said, this is just too weird for me.
Yeah.
And like a couple of days later, you contacted me.
Yeah, and I want to say something really quick about your Lucas Kits things, because I think
okay.
So whenever I reached out to you, and I figured he's going to blow me off. He's not even going to respond, and you responded, and I said, I told
small people.
I think I told Ellie, my youngest daughter, I told them all, and she was sitting there, and I said, guess who's going to have me on their YouTube channel? And she said, Lucas Kits, because you did so many of those, and I would watch them. The little tune at the beginning caught their attention, and so I would watch them. I had no choice. I'm dad. I'm going to watch what I want to on the TV.
Yeah, that's right.
She thought that's what your channel was called, Lucas Kits. So yeah, and I'm glad you did another one just recently.
Yeah, I got to do more of those. I mean, I won't run out.
No,
Lucas Kits, but honestly, I was getting a lot of requests. You got to do Lucas Kits. You got to do Lucas Kits. And I know there's so many people. There's people. Oh, I have had people go. They hate that music and anything. I shut it off after. Well, I don't want you watching anyways. But really, honestly, the majority. I'll never forget when I started Lucas Kits though. Andy's wife Denise, I see her and she just started laughing, started singing it to me, and she just loves it. There's a lot of people who just get a kick out of it. That was a funny. There's a background to that story, but I won't talk about it now. But that was. I want it. I like leaning on the funny and ridiculous, and it was a total. When I made that whole thing, that was a. Yeah, this is stupid. I'm definitely gonna do it. It's like, as a matter of fact, talk about this. This says my humor. I gotta tell you this one. So, our meeting last night, we do our gift exchange stuff, and model kits always.
Yeah.
I had my kit, and then I realized we've been doing some stuff around the house, so we haven't been ready to put the tree up yet. We're gonna do it actually today, and I hadn't gotten up in the attic, and all the wrapping papers up there, and I got to wrap this gift. So I ran to the dollar store, and I see they had tons of wrapping paper, but they had gotten some Disney wrapping paper, and then there's this one, and it has all the princesses on it. Well, of course, I'm going to take that because that's just my twisted little. It makes me laugh inside my head. Then I'm going to do it, and then we invited. Through the means of our power of modern technology, we invited Jason to be a part of it. He sent a gift to put under the tree to Brian, so it was under there. So Brian took him with the phone. I was in my video, and he shows it. Which one do you want? And he with the kind of coercing of Brian, and I don't think he realized it was my kit. You want the one with the princesses on it? So he got the kit, and I'm just like, that was funny. So he got stuck with the one with the with all the Disney princesses. But that's my humor. I like ridiculousness. So that's kind of the life of Lucas Kits theme. And look at it, it attracts children. So there you go. There you go. That's what you do. Do stuff to attract children. Oh gosh, that might not, but not in a rusty old panel van. Don't do.
No. I can hear the ice cream truck bells already. Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah. Well, thanks a ton for coming on. This was a fun conversation. We went in a couple little different directions, but we pretty much stayed on topic, I think.
Yeah. I think it's going to be around for quite some time. So
yeah. Hey, everybody. Put in the comments below what your thoughts on this are.
Absolutely.
We love to hear you. Matthew, you be sure to watch the comments. Be happy to answer. It's, whatever.
Okay.
It's your show too on here. And you definitely got to have you back on. I always have a good time jaw-jacking with you. And hopefully soon we'll be able to get together again, man.
Yeah.
See you back east and hang out and do what we do. Model cars, right? Why?
Yeah, because they're fun.
Yeah, I won't make you that'll work. I won't make you do the glue the fingers thing and screw that one all up. We'll just move along. But
all right.
All right. Well, thanks a bunch, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. And do you want to take BG's job?
Here's the producers. Did it?
Yeah, many of them are yours too. So many of those guys are yours too. Thank you.